You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are... Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream team.
And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working it.
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney+, rated PG.
Have you ever gazed in wonder at the Great Pyramid? Have you marveled at the golden face of Tutankhamun? Or admired the delicate features of Queen Nefertiti? If you have, you'll probably like the History of Egypt podcast. Every week, we explore tales of this ancient culture. The History of Egypt is available wherever you get your podcasting fix. Come, let me introduce you to the world of ancient Egypt.
This episode is brought to you by our Patreon members. Thank you so much.
Join our Patreon for extra episodes, interviews, extra content, and to help support the podcast and help us continue to do the work we do.
Go to patreon.com/ancienthistoryfangirl to learn more.
You cannot write romance with contempt in your heart.
I'm Jenny Williamson.
And I'm Jen McMenemy.
And this is Ancient History Fangirl. We are thrilled to welcome #1 Sunday Times bestselling author Elizabeth May to the podcast. Elizabeth May is the author of The Wolf and the Crown of Blood, To Cage a God, the Falconer series, which was just re-released as an adult romantasy, and a line of Regency romance novels under the name Katrina Kendrick. Welcome, Elizabeth!
Hello!
Hi!
Oh, goodness. I'm already, tearing up, laughing.
Me too!
I love coming on with you guys. You guys are so fun.
So, let's talk Wolf and the Crown of Blood, which came out, yesterday?
Last week?
Very recently.
27th. It's been, 6 days, but I had to look at my computer just to figure that one out.
I know. I've had it for a while, and I, read it as soon as I got it. So, for me, I'm like, wait, when does this come out? So, I love this book. It's one of my favorites of yours. I just had a blast reading this. How would you describe this story, and what makes it different from other romantasies you've written?
Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm just my brain is dead, but
you can give us the most batshit answer you want.
This is it's inspired by Beauty and the Beast and Eris and Psyche, and it's about a princess who belongs to a royal family who is in a death pact with the storm god, and in order to end a war, they are forced to sacrifice themselves and resurrect every 2 weeks to maintain a barrier between the god and human realms. And when she falls out of the god's favor and is marked for death, he sends his very sexy evil assassin to kill her. He does not kill her. He decides to play with her, and then they fall in love, and they have really wild fucking all over the place. And there you go. That's the story.
I love it. I love it so much.
How is it different? Let's see. How is it different from my other works? Well, it's certainly filthier.
It was. I feel like it took a step in filth. I was just like, this is awesome.
Oh yeah, I was just like, you know what I want to do right now? I just want to write a bunch of filth, and I did, and I had the best time.
I mean, I would say that it is an art form though. It's not just a bunch of filth. You have this extremely elaborate world building scenario backstory that provides a vehicle for the filth.
That is indeed where the filth lives.
Right, that's where the filth lives. And I feel like there's something so, in particular in romantasy, I mean, obviously other romance genres have this too, but as romance writers, the vehicles that we create so that the specific kind of fucking we want to read and write happens is just, that delights me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really love building the elaborate worlds. I mean, I have a background in fantasy, so that's a really kind of involved part for me. But I have to say that I definitely planned out the sex scenes like very elaborately. I had entire outlines.
I feel like the secret to like romantasy is number one, you have to have all of the tools of a romance novel, and the romance is at the heart. But the second part is the fantasy. It is choreographing all of those romance scenes exactly the way a romance writer would, and then also having in the fight scenes and the world building and all of the things that stress out fantasy writers. So you're doing double duty. And the great thing about this book is it doesn't skimp on either. Like, yes, romance is first and foremost, but like the beginning of this book gave me massive like Daughter of Smoke and Bone feelings where like, you know, he's hunting down like there's some people doing naughty things and this enforcer is gonna make sure that they get punished, you know? Hot, obviously.
I'm sorry. That just I had to interject with a hot there because that is hot.
But I think a lot of times the discourse is like, oh, because it's romantasy, like you only care about the smut and the this and the that. I'm like, yes, obviously I care and it has to be inventive because I'm here for that. But it could be the most vanilla sex scene as long as the yearning and the pining and the characters are built up to it, it will feel fucking incredible to read as a reader.
Yeah, it definitely frustrates me when romantasy discourse comes up and people kind of like present it as something that's like really easy to write, but it is really hard because yeah, you have to make sure that like both the romance and the fantasy parts hit for people, and that is really much more difficult than I think a lot of people expect because the emotional romantic beats have to hit, the world beats have to hit. I haven't succeeded, I don't think, all the time. I do think this one I just decided that I would definitely start kind of with the romance and let the world go from there. And I think that really helped a lot with me because I didn't stress out as much about the world building. I mainly focused kind of my efforts on the romance, not like the smut, yes, but like building this romantic relationship between these two people and making sure that their feelings for each other and the animosity between each other kind of felt authentic and was satisfying for the reader to read about as well. And so what I think once you kind of get that aspect of the relationship down, the world building elements can kind of fall into place as well after that because you have their history and you can kind of build from those characters the world that they live in. And so then as they move through the world impacts the way that they react and relate to each other as well,
which is complicated.
It's really complicated. It's a very difficult balance, I think.
Yeah, and I've definitely read, some romantasies that I felt like really hit the mark better because I'm also a huge fantasy fan. Like, I've been a Tolkien girly since I was like 10 and my dad gave me Lord of the Rings for Christmas. For me, like, I love the romantasy genre so much. Like, I think it's in a way, like, as a reader, really my home. And sometimes a book really hits for me. Sometimes it really doesn't, like, in one direction or the other. But this book really hit for me in both the directions. And I just absolutely fell into it, which is sadly rare for me these days, to just, like, devour a book without thinking about, like, how, like, am I tired yet? Do I have to wake up tomorrow?
Yeah, and it's the longest book I've ever written as well, by a large margin. It is a big book.
What was your final word count?
It was 165,000 words.
Wow.
Yeah. It is a really long book. They were like, "Can you cut it?" And I'm like, "No."
My debut was like 129 final, and I'm surprised they let me get away with that. Like shocked and amazed.
Yeah, I think my last was 125 and my longest was 127. So like by a large margin, it is my longest. At one point it did get up to 170 and I was like, the best I could do is cut it 5. Like, that's it.
There really isn't just anywhere because there's so much like sort of like I said, world building. You want to leave a lot of room for the smutty smut.
So I belong to a romantasy book club with a lot of other people here in North Carolina, and it's a wonderful book club. And I have read very many different books. I'm not going to tell you which ones I love or hate, but there are some where, and this is not the case with this book, where it did feel like smut was the purpose and the plot was secondary, and it went bonkers for the sake of bonkers. I have read other books where it feels like the world building is a little chaotic and doesn't fit the story, like it's very much shoehorned in. And I've read others where it's seamless. And, you know, the world building might be simple, but it's perfect for the story that they're weaving through. And I think there's a real fine line that you have to walk, a fine dance that you have to do when you're writing these books to make sure that both of them are working together to serve the story and the characters and the love. Because in the end, romantasy is the most epic of escapes. It's the story I wanted when I saw the Lord of the Rings movie between like Aragorn and, I mean, obviously I'm an Eowyn girly, but you know, let's say Arwen, right? Like it's that big romance that was missing that you caught glimpses of on stage. That's what romantasy is. It doesn't mean you forget about the War of the Rings. It means that the love is centered and also has a part in how it reshapes the world. And I think your book does that, so ha.
I'm glad you think so.
Jen, what would you define as romantic?
Are we talking like flowers and chocolate and candy and all that like real world bullshit, or the stuff I like to read about?
I'm talking about getting yourself kidnapped by your father's sworn enemy because the banquet needed livening up.
Are we talking about having your enemy / crush throw axes at your head for both kingship and pleasure?
That's like my type of competency porn. How about getting high on a weed sauna amid epic confusion about whether or not you're married to your sworn enemy? I love this so much.
Yeah, and how about a sweeping epic historical novel set during the fall of Rome, featuring Alaric of the Visigoths, a barbarian warlord, and a wayward imperial princess who just wants to take control of her own destiny. How does that sound, Jenny?
It sounds like my book, Enemy of My Dreams, which is available right now in hardback, ebook, and audio download wherever books are sold.
Pick up a copy. We promise it's one adventure you'll never want to escape.
You know, sometimes life just gets overwhelming, doesn't it, Jen?
Sometimes, all the time, it feels like.
For me, it's usually work-related. Maybe I'm working really hard to meet a deadline, and then, I don't know, my curtain falls off my wall, and I have no time or ability to fix that.
For me, it's usually my little chaos werewolf, Jake, my dog, who likes to take the most inopportune times to chew up the furniture, or something that means I have to deep clean everything immediately.
Yeah, weekend project. When life just completely overwhelms you, TaskRabbit is there. Just find a trusted tasker on TaskRabbit and they'll get your task done for you, often the same day. So many times I have hired a tasker to clean my apartment before I travel, and it always feels so great to know I'm going to come home to a clean apartment.
I can do a lot of things for myself, but there are certain things I can't do, like mounting a replica Minoan battle axe onto my wall.
A tasker can do that for you. TaskRabbit connects you with skilled taskers in your area for moving, furniture assembly, home repairs, yard work, mounting, and more.
You can search for a tasker based on cost, skill set, availability, and past client reviews, so you know exactly who's showing up and can have confidence that they know what they're doing.
Because taskers have assembled over 3.4 million pieces of furniture, completed 700,000 home repairs, handled 1.5 million moves, and counting.
When life happens, your to-do list grows. Get ahead of it now and get $15 off your first task at taskrabbit.com or on the TaskRabbit app using promo code FANGIRL. That's FANGIRL. Taskers book up fast, especially for same-day tasks. So book trusted home help today. That's $15 off your first task using promo code FANGIRL with the TaskRabbit app or at taskrabbit.com.
Let's delve into the mythology a little bit more. So you mentioned Psyche and Eros, Beauty and the Beast as inspirations for Wolf and the Crown of Blood. Tell us, if you would like, how you both use that mythology and subverted it, if that is applicable.
So initially I didn't kind of like have any thought about subverting or playing on it. I wrote what was for the first draft, what is essentially like a very straightforward retelling of Eros and Psyche. And just changed the names. Actually, I might have in the first manuscript just called them Eros and Psyche, just to get an idea of these two characters. I knew I wanted to play around with it a bit, and I love that story. In my opinion, it is one of the most romantic myths, and it's lovely, and it has everything.
It has a hero journey for a girl character in mythology, Greek and Roman mythology, which is very rare.
It is. It is. And it's one of the few that doesn't end in tragedy.
Yeah, the villain has to be the mother-in-law, has to be.
Yeah. I mean, the patriarchy definitely needs to smack you down a few times, and women have to have violence against women, but it's okay. It's okay. It ends okay.
Yeah, and so I even had like a woman villain, like an Aphrodite-esque villain and everything. And so it was a very straightforward retelling. And, I edited it and it changed the names, and that was the draft that I kind of went out to my publishers. And so I got my, my editorial notes for that manuscript that really wanted me to world expand. And that was when I kind of realized like there are a lot of limitations with the Eros and Psyche mythology, because in part of it, she doesn't know who he is. So he just comes to like fuck her at night. And,
yeah, hot.
But isn't he also a snake at some point? I honestly forget how this goes.
Yeah, it's like they think he's like a monster in the darkness. Like her sisters like convince her. It's like, yeah, you're probably fucking a monster, and that's why he doesn't want to show himself to you. And so she doesn't know who he is the entire time that they're in the palace. And so I was just like, okay, that is going to severely limit the amount of world building that can take place in her perspective, because she's stuck in his home, and she doesn't know who the fuck she's staying with. So she's just like there. It's almost like really self-contained. So like all of the world building would have to take place in his points of view, and that just like it really limited things. So I was just like, okay, so Eros and Psyche is basically a proto Beauty and the Beast story. So what I will do is I will essentially create a turducken situation of stories, which is Eros and Psyche rapper, Beauty and the Beast, in the forced proximity situation. And so I decided to kind of stick with the beast as a metaphor for like, inner monstrosity kind of learned behaviors, because the beast in Beauty and the Beast is very much like an external beast, and something that he is also kind of like becoming with time. But in this one, I kind of wanted to play with the idea of like a beautiful exterior, beastly interior, where he has to kind of like soften toward this one person. And so it discusses kind of themes of monstrosity with her as well, where she kind of embraces beastliness and gets her revenge, and there's female rage and themes of bodily autonomy as well. So I definitely feel like once I kind of took off the Eros and Psyche, like, straightforward retelling, and like incorporated all of these different elements, it kind of allowed the world to flourish more.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this because we're just starting our new season, which is called How a Democracy Dies. And Eros and Psyche is one of the stories in the Metamorphosis, Jenny. And the more I think about it, the more I think about what Augustan propaganda it is. Because there are so many layers of female rage and females subverting each other that will go well in with the Lex Julia, which we're going to talk about. So one of the things I liked about your subversion is that female rage, and is that removing of these other female characters who are there to essentially cast doubt on the story and to sort of like embody like this idea that you must trust the beast you can't see. Don't trust your eyes or anything else. Like, you must like doubt the things that you're seeing, what he's showing you, etc. in the retelling, not necessarily your retelling. But I thought that worked really well, and is an important message that we could do with in today's day and age.
Yeah, and that was also one of the reasons why I changed the villains. So it was like, initially I had this female villain, and I kind of thought to myself, all right, well, I already wrote a female villain in To Cage a God, And in that book, her personality is kind of Aphrodite-like in terms of its rage anyway, so I felt like I was a bit treading the same water. So I was like, let's make a hot male antagonist.
Does he get his own book?
Yeah.
I figured you might be going in that direction. If that's too spoilery, I'll take it out.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's so like what I decided, it then just made more sense in terms of themes of bodily autonomy that it would be a man essentially making her sacrifice herself over and over again and kind of taking away a lot of her bodily autonomy and Evander's as well. So that just made sense to me. So in my edit letter, they were a bit like, "Whoa, okay, we've got a different villain here, even." And I was just like, "Yeah, it needs to be a man." Sorry.
And I think it makes so much sense. Like the themes that you are picking up in now are very much in the zeitgeist because she's literally like offering her body like once every 2 weeks, right? To uphold a system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's definitely something on my mind, the themes of bodily autonomy, because it's something that continues kind of like throughout the series. It's just like this kind of women essentially publicly kind of like giving up their bodies for some kind of greater purpose.
Women's bodies belonging to the state, right?
Yeah.
Not to go back to our season, which this will probably drop in the middle of.
For some reason, it's just hitting a lot of the same buttons here.
It is. You're going to have, you have a lot of like the Vestal virgins being buried alive because like we need to fix whatever went wrong in Rome and it's obviously a woman's fault. Or the myth of the rape of the Sabine women where it's like all of these women have been taken and now it's up to them to like throw their body on the line in order to broker this peace and keep everyone together. Like it's such an old trope that we see in that mythology, which was created by the people who are trying to destroy democracy, who even now are using these old archetypes to, limit women's bodily autonomy and erode rights. And it's great to see you subverting it and really in the moments when you are leaning into it, showing us what a harmful trope it is that has been there forever.
Yeah, I definitely I wanted to also show how it impacts women mentally. So I wanted to play a bit with the mental health aspect. I get more into that as well in the second book, but it does play a heavy part in this one. And basically how it impacts you, like, like it just becomes exhausting to always like have your body feel like it's owned by somebody else or that somebody else is constantly taking your choices away with what to do with your body. It just wears on you.
One of the things that I liked, and it's pretty early in the book, so hopefully it's not too spoilery, is, as you mentioned, our main character is ritualistically sacrificed over and over again to, like, keep the accords between, the gods and humans together. And one of the things that you do really effectively is you show the eroding of her humanity and her own desire for her own autonomy. Because it's like, another day, another time for me to be killed again and come back. And, oh, okay, this is fine.
Well, if this whole, like, dying for the state and having your body ripped open over and over again is not dissimilar to childbirth, just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then of course it's like when you first meet her, she's in an arranged marriage as well. And it's just like, she's preparing to essentially just get like impregnated.
So I've seen somewhere, potentially on your threads, I'm not sure, this book being described as on the darker end of your romanticides, but I also kind of know you as an author whose playground is absolutely at the intersection of sex and violence.
Which historically is the point of romance. It's always been love and death. Like, don't get us started as an Aphrodite.
I'm just never going to stop loving the dry humping at knife point. No, that's my favorite thing.
No, never.
Can I have a scene where they dry hump at knife point? I'm going to create an elaborate fantasy world to facilitate that. Anyway, would you agree with that description? And if yes, how so?
Yeah, no, I mean, that is essentially my authorial brand at this point. If there is an opportunity to have two characters dry hump at knife point, dry hump like when somebody is bleeding, I don't know, like
there's a corpse right there that someone killed just now, and now we need to dry hump. Yes.
If you had to ask me, Elizabeth, did you hold back a bit on this? I would have to say yes. I probably would have had him fuck her near a corpse if I could have. Like,
Ask Jenny about the severed head she had to cut out.
No, I put it back in sneakily though. You have no idea my love for severed heads. I can't.
it's like Elizabeth May. Would you have had him fuck her in wearing the blood of his enemies? Yes, I would have, but I was already treading a fine line here.
That's hot.
I relate to this because in my book 2, Game of Thieves, I did go a lot more bonkers in my first draft, and I had to rein it back in the second draft just because I needed the plot to cohere a little bit better. And I'm like, I didn't quite make all of this fetch, but I did make these 2 things fetch, and I'm gonna die on that hill.
Sometimes you just gotta have like you've gotta have like your babies, and I'm like, okay, this one is non-negotiable, and eventually you end up with too many non-negotiables. So it's like, all right, fine, I won't have him fuck her wearing the blood of his enemies. I guess I'll sacrifice it.
But I'm keeping the severed corpse in the corner.
Right. At some point, there's a severed head corpse in the corner. It's like in the cut chair.
See, this is why I love romantasy and don't love mafia romances. Like, I'm down for it in a fantasy world, but I can't get down in the modern world because to me, it's like, oh, it's too much. It's too much. Like, my pearl clutching starts, and I get it, and I'm not yucking anyone's yum. I wish I could disassociate it. I just can't, right?
I do not have that bone. I don't have a pearl clutchy bone in my body.
Okay, we've talked about my Catholic upbringing a lot. Like, we don't need to get to...
Yeah, I definitely pretend that these are like fantasy mafias. They're not real.
When I can, it's great because I'm like, yes. But when I can't, I'm just like, I'm sorry. Like, or my brain, like my true crime brain is like, well, they would obviously catch you. Like, this is very sloppy. Like, I'm sorry. There is so much DNA. Like, I just need that light. I need some luminol. You are done.
Oh, if there was like luminol in some of these mafia romances, there wouldn't be a story, Jen.
Oh, I know. And I'm just like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Spray it all down. Hose it down with bleach.
Listen, they pay people on the payroll to get rid of the bodies and pretend that they were never found.
Sure. I mean, look, I'm just going to say it one more time. Like, I would have, Jen of 5 years ago wouldn't have believed it, but we are still waiting on all the Epstein files. So I do think probably it's, if you have enough money, it's possible.
Follow-up question. What do you think makes a romantasy dark, in your opinion? And is it the dead body in the corner, or do we go deeper than that?
I definitely feel like there's 2 different kinds of dark romantasy. So you have dark world romantasy, which is essentially, it's adjacent to grimdark. So you're dealing with dark themes, you're dealing with war, you're dealing with lots of corpses and lots of murder and lots of gritty shit. And then you've got dark romance in terms of like the romance being toxic. You know, there may or may not be consensual problems in that, but essentially there's just a very toxic relationship at the center of it, and you explore themes of toxicity within the romance itself. So there's dark world and then the dark romance. So with Wolf, I definitely explored both. The romance is probably not as dark as some of the dark romances that I've read, but I would say it's on the gray spectrum as far as that, just because they are so toxic, enemies to lovers. And I kind of feel like when you're playing around with enemies to lovers themes, you kind of have to go with a bit of toxicity there. They don't want to be attracted to each other. They're supposed to hate each other.
They're super adversarial. Like the way I described all the sex in my 2 books that I just wrote is all consensual, but it is combative. Like they kind of approach sex like war in a way, sometimes, not always. Like, and I also feel like the tenderness inside of that is just like this bolt of like pure blue light. Like I just love it. Like I love tenderness within the dark, which is why I think I'm super drawn to dark romantasy and dark romance in general, is like that contrast. It just grabs you. Like for me, I just find that very intense and very satisfying as a reader.
I love exploring the idea of love not being a moral judgment. He may not necessarily deserve it. In my opinion, Evander is not a good person. Like, he is not a good person. He kills people all the time. He would have been perfectly happy killing her if she hadn't amused him. Like, okay, there's this point in the book, and this is kind of a minor spoiler but not a huge one. She just like doesn't talk to him for like 4 weeks, and he flips the fuck out. And like if she had maybe talked to him, who knows, he probably would have gotten bored. But the fact that she like didn't, he's just like, what the fuck is this? Like, you're supposed
I thought we were doing casual, which means you chase me.
Yeah, like, what do you mean? You can't just not pay attention to me. Like, you're here, you're in my place, and she just treats him like furniture for 4 weeks, and it pisses him off, and his pride won't let him kill her.
I love the, like, moment where you have this very scary man who might murder you because that's his whole entire job. But then, like, cutting him down to size is also like a really entertaining and fun aspect of this particular genre.
Yeah, you have to, when you're dealing with gods, because there is definitely like a power differential there, like she's never going to be able to overpower him in any way. So all she can do is essentially do something that she knows will piss him off, and to a god it's being ignored.
Oh yeah. They need you to worship them, like literally worship them. They cannot be ignored. That's actually a really good point about writing gods versus men as heroes.
Well, and I was going to say, I think all romances, like whether they're like romantasy or contemporary or historical, have to have a toxic element to them, because you can have a cinnamon roll hero who is great, who is all green flags, but there has to be something with the heroine. Because like if you just have a straight romance where these are two people who are like very well matched to each other, I don't see the conflict. There has to be some conflict to these people getting together, otherwise it doesn't work.
So there is definitely a trend of no conflict or low conflict romances.
I don't know how that works. I can't do it.
Okay, so all right, so somebody on Threads was talking about what is it with these like no conflict romances, and somebody commented and said, "What do you mean like no conflict? Like there can't be no conflict. Like what's the page count about?" And see, I was confused as well because I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, I didn't know what they meant until I encountered one in the wild. I will not say the name of this book. I will not say the name for this book because it's going to hit for somebody, and a lot of people seem to love it because they don't want to read about conflict. Like essentially, she goes on dates with a bunch of guys. It was a why choose. So she just goes on dates with all of them, and fucks them, and that's what it. And they're nice. They're all nice, and they all support her, and they all smell really good, and they all have great sex. And there's zero, and the most conflict that exists in the book is her asking herself, "Do I deserve this?" And and I'm like, man, I like, clearly a lot of readers really, really love this. So, in my opinion, romance has a niche for every reader, and so that is going to be that reader's niche. It is very much not for me. I need mess. I need toxic. You know what? I don't give a shit what anybody says. I love a third act breakup. I love a third act breakup.
I love a grand gesture. Like, I need it to be a good grand gesture.
I love a grand gesture. And if there is an Elizabeth May hero who does not grovel, like he needs to get on his knees. He needs to apologize.
Oh yeah, hardcore. I actually really love miscommunication, and this is the trope that people don't like that I am prepared to argue for and fight for, because for me, miscommunication, I get if you don't like it when it's not done well. There are lots of examples of it not being done well. But when it is done well, miscommunication for me is about extremely attuned longing, where one person does not realize how down bad the other person is. And sure, if we all decided to get in a room and talk about it, we'd figure it out. But then what is the fun in that? Where one person doesn't realize that they're married to the other person, for example.
Never in your books. Never.
Never.
I love a miscommunication. I love it. I want to feel like a pang in my chest cavity. I want the feeling like where my stomach drops, like in the in the show Heated Rivalry. There's this club scene where they see each other in the club and they're both dancing with different women, but they want each other. That's the feeling I want in my chest. The hurt.
Oh, like the across the room stare while you're grinding with somebody else. Good Lord. Carve it on my body.
Yes. Making prolonged eye contact with the person that you really want while also trying to make them feel jealous. That kind of shit. I live for it. Oh God, I love jealousy.
I love jealousy. I love jealousy. I love like a hint of another woman or another man or something. Like I want to see these people fucking suffer. That's what I want to do.
I love jealousy, but I don't love jealousy where it's an older woman is jealous of this dude and his younger woman. Like, I'm out with that. I'm here if they're like the same age. I'm here for whatever, but it's like, oh, she's 40 something and this dude who's 35 is with a 25-year-old. I'm like, you know what? Do we need to keep doing that? Do we need to keep...
To be fair, I've got that in 2 of my 3 books that I've currently written. But I do subvert it a lot.
You subvert it. There's a difference.
For me, my favorite jealousy trope is always kissing or fooling around with somebody while making prolonged eye contact with the person that you really want.
I love it because it hurts. I love it so much. I think we're the same person.
We are.
It's just a fact. We are. So, what did you find the most challenging about getting this story on the page?
Good Lord. All of it? Is all of it a good answer? I definitely feel like the world building took a little bit more time to cook than everything else did. I started with the romance. And so what I did was I kind of built the romance first. I figured, I'd kind of start off with 2 characters and who are these characters? I knew I wanted to write something enemies to lovers. I knew I wanted that kind of tension. And so I'm like, okay, who are these people? And like, what do they want? Who are they in relation to the world? And so I kind of started with them in this very toxic situation. And I kind of built the world based off of like, asking a question for each character, which is, who is this person? Where did they come from? And because it's an Elizabeth Bay book, they need to have a tragic past.
Obviously.
And so once you acknowledge that this person needs a tragic past, in writing, we call it the wound or the ghost, which is essentially what in their past is influencing their present. And so I was just like, all right, what's Evander's wound? And so, that gave me a little bit of the world for him because that goes back like 1,000 years. Primarily, a lot of it's going to take place 300 years ago when the war started. So that's all his wound. And that gave me that entire perspective. I'm like, okay, now what's hers? And so then that gave me the human realms background right there. And so then it was able to just kind of build from that. But I started with the romance and just kind of building the entire kind of story around the romance. And then the world building came from that, which is the first time I've ever done that because, usually I start with the fantasy world and then I build the characters based on the fantasy world. So with this one, I started with the romance and then built the world from the romance.
That's how I work too. I need to know what their wound is. I need to know what it is about this person that has kept them from whatever it is they want and how that's going to play into. I remember the project I'm working on right now. Like I said to Jenny, I'm like, I get him. I don't understand what her problem is. Maybe I'm just too old.
There's definitely a point when I'm like, and I'm plotting a book or I'm writing a book and I'm just like, who is this person? I do not know you.
I'm like halfway through the second draft. I'm like, who the fuck are you?
Who are you?
What are we doing here? How long have I even known you?
And there was a point at which I had that with Alexios, especially because he's old and he's like 7,000 years old. And so I'm just like, who are you? And primarily, and most importantly, what do you fuck like?
Yes. Yes. And what, particularly if you are a female character, what do you fuck like? And have you ever experienced an orgasm with any of the assholes you fucked around with in the past? Because if not, this dude has a lot of work to do. A lot. Again, contemporaries, right? You know,
I feel like the book I'm working on now, this is off kilter, but her big wound is that she's never had good sex.
Love that. Yes.
that's not a million miles away.
That's a good wound. I mean, then you have a sexual healing plot.
Kind of, but like within a very, very manipulative and fucked up envelope.
Those are the best kind of envelopes.
I know. Those are the ones we all want to open. Stop.
I know, it's my favorite kind of envelope. Look, there's going to be an envelope. It's going to be that. So, shall we talk about the spanking?
Yes, we can talk about the spanking.
Okay, so I'm not going to say who might have a spanking scene in their book. Might be me, might be you, might be all of us. Everyone has a spanking scene.
I don't know. I haven't written that scene yet if I'm going to write one.
You might get to it. Why do we love spanking so much? Why?
All right. I will freely admit that I have now written like 3 spanking scenes now. Like, so they're gonna show up in like all of my recent books, all of them. There's gonna be a spanking scene. It's like Elizabeth is clearly liking a spanking scene lately, and I'm just gonna be like, yeah. So I just feel like you have that perfect balance between dominance, submission, and then you have a pain kink as well. And so it hits several very specific kinks, not to mention the very specific kink of him basically being like, like exerting that kind of control. And so it really works well for a certain character. I think it doesn't work for every character. And if I see it in a character that doesn't feel like he'd be a spanker, I'm a bit like, nah, he's definitely got to have that kind of a personality.
I will put out there that if I encounter a character who seems like that guy is a spanker, and then he doesn't spank, I am a little let down.
A little disappointed, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love spanking scenes, and when I encounter them, I wouldn't say always delighted, because sometimes it's not done as well, or you don't quite believe that person is a spanker. But sometimes you just really desperately need to see a spanking scene in a book, and then when I actually feel that way and I get the spanking scene, it's fucking Christmas. I love that. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's definitely like we were talking a bit about spanking before the show, and I mentioned that it was like really prominent in like 80s bodice rippers. So there was a bit of a spanking backlash in romances for a bit, where you didn't see it as much because it was so prevalent in those like really non-conny romances in the 80s, and that was an essential ingredient kind of like to the non-con, was the spanking of the heroine, because he was meant to tame her.
Yeah, well, she had to be tamed because she was too wild. What kind of woman would behave that way?
Women are livestock.
Yeah, and so that was it. It was part of his efforts to tame her. And and I think the spanking has kind of taken like a different shade of things, where it's more of it's more ingratiated into like the kink factor of the dominance and the control. So you can see she's not fighting the spanking, she's counting, she's enjoying it, there's what is it, the element of like prolonging the orgasm as well. So there's those elements. It's not like as much of a punishment as it is a foreplay element in these books.
Yeah, it's a pleasurement.
It's a pleasurement, exactly. Like the punishment aspect is the envelope. I would say, like, obviously the spanking that I enjoy is consensual spanking. It is not like non-con spanking.
Yeah, it's not like I it worked for the specific kind of like tone of the 80s bodice rippers, because part of the non-con aspect was her like, not wanting to admit that she wanted to fuck, because, a lot of those romances, it was like kind of taboo for women to like admit they fucked. So,
Oh, yeah. Or enjoyed it or had desires.
yes. So it was like a body betrayal element. So if she enjoyed the spanking, it was like, oh, that's taboo. She shouldn't enjoy it, should she? He's got to tame her. And so everything was basically like kind of a body betrayal situation in those books. So they get so wild. They get so wild, those books. I've been reading some of the older ones, and sometimes I just encounter shit where I'm just like, wow, okay.
Same. Like, my mom was the town librarian in the small town where I grew up, and she had a lot of romance in her shelves, and it was all like, 80s and 90s romance. And I used to like sneak that shit at like the age of 14 and go home with it. And like, my mom knew. I did not realize that she knew. I thought she would be mad, but like, she's like, no, it's fine. You're reading. And I'm like, Mom, did you know what I was reading?
Oh, that was my mom's feeling too. She didn't care. She was like, read it. Go for it. She didn't want me watching a lot of violence, but she was like, read it. Like, I'm here for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was a point at which I like confided in my mom something that I was reading, and she's like, should I be letting you read this?" And I was just like, "I'm reading, aren't I?" I read way too much, way too early, but I don't care.
All I'm doing is reading. I literally just read, and it's all this like spanking, body betrayal, taming the women folk situation.
Yeah, I'm a bit, when people bring this up, like, should this person be reading this? I'm like, like, is she dying? Like, she's fine. Like,
I know, I'm the same way. Like, I think people can choose what they read. I'm not writing for children.
yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like young people are very good at self-censoring. Like, when they read something they're not comfortable with, they will fully and completely put it down. I definitely did when I was younger. Like, even when I was reading, like, bodice rippers when I was, like, 14, if I encountered something that just did not jive with me, I totally just, like, I was like, "Nah, no, I don't feel like reading."
Absolutely.
Same. If I didn't enjoy something or I was like, this is a bit too much for me, I would just put it down.
I read Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty series.
Oh, we're going to talk about that offline.
And yeah, and I did finish the first book, but I didn't complete the trilogy because I was just like, and that was enough for me. I was like, not
Because it didn't seem like she was having a good time. And I'm like, if you're not having a good time, why am I going to keep reading this?
That was a very fucked up book.
If you're not enjoying yourself, I'm not enjoying myself. So, I think you're going to like this question. As someone who's very aware of the discourse around romance as a genre right now, what is the most annoying commentary you hear about the romance genre from non-romance people who are just becoming aware that romance exists?
Does romance need a happily ever after? The answer is yes.
Other genres also have expectations.
Yeah, and that one's the one that always seems to come up, and it is the one that I find that people who are like new to romance have difficulty wrapping their head around, because there is and they always kind of get it confused with films, because there are not romantic conventions as much in films the way that there are in books, because books is, it borrows from the tradition of Harlequins and Mills and Boone, and that is where much of the contemporary romance genre, I mean, not contemporary like the genre contemporary, but contemporary romances. It borrows from that tradition, and in that tradition, it's the happily ever after is the rule. It is the one rule. And so they'll always bring up like Casablanca. What about Casablanca? That doesn't have a happy ending.
What about Romeo and Juliet?
What about Romeo and Juliet? And I'm like, that is a play, and it is also like hundreds of years old. We're not judging the current genre standards from a play that is hundreds and hundreds of years old. We're not judging this genre from a movie that is an older movie. Like,
and it's not like these are categorically not romances. They are not.
they're not, and you know, books have different standards than movies, books have different standards than plays. They have different genre conventions. I don't When I am watching a romance film, I don't expect it to have a happy ending. I just don't, because it doesn't have the same genre conventions as books. I do ask people if they you know, if the ending is happy, just so that I, you know, if I go into it, like, I know personally, just based on my mood, I'm not going to get upset. It's not going to be like a Moulin Rouge situation.
I mean, look, Moulin Rouge, the second she coughs, you're like, oh, she's dying.
Oh, well, I mean, it starts off with him, like, it says it at the start of the film. Anyway, this is, and so they always get confused, and then they fight you on it. But what about, you know, like, why? And don't you want to not be predictable? And I'm like, no, that is the point of the genre. They want that predictability at the end. They want it to end that way.
Yeah. And for me, like, as a reader, I think this might be another reason why I'm really drawn to darker romance. The thing that is unpredictable is getting like 2/3 of the way through and everything has gone to shit. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how are these two people going to come together, like, with all that's between them? And then somehow they do. And that's fun.
Yes. And you know, I keep saying this about, like, I bring up heated rivalry about, you know, with this, because a lot of people are discovering romance from this show. And it is based on a Harlequin romance book. It is like literally the most quintessential Harlequin romance book that you can, that's what it is. And people don't want to acknowledge that aspect of the source material. They don't want to acknowledge that it's a romance. And so you had people who were not familiar with romance structure, like, freaking out while watching this show and thinking that it's going to end sadly. Because they're so used to tragic endings in queer stories on screen. So many people were watching that expecting it was just going to end sadly, and it's like, no, baby, this is romance. And I'm just like, you know, there is an element of comfort in being able to go into a book and emotionally invest and let the author beat you around emotionally for like 400 pages, and you don't have to worry about, you know, experiencing the sad ending. You can fully invest emotionally, knowing that it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, right? Like, we don't get to see romance in film the same way we get to read it, right? Because romance in film has to be one of two things. It has to be a denigrated rom-com, or it has to be a love story. There is no two ways about it. A love story, you know, will end tragically because they tell you any kind of love that's worth having is going to end sadly. And any kind of rom-com is just women kind of like bopping around and like getting to live their dreams and not taking anything seriously. And again, I'm being very facetious. I don't believe any of this. So when you see something like heated rivalry, which comes from a romance as in the genre, and it breaks through to the mainstream in a way that many times, like, rom-coms don't, because we can't think nicely about them because people suck.
But also, it's a gay story, and people are really, really used to seeing those end tragically, on top of all the other stuff, yeah.
Exactly. So we have this big disconnect between what romance actually is, right? And I think, you know, it's time for the mainstream film world to understand romance, as we want it to be, is a movie that has hardships and everything else, but in the end, we know it's going to be okay.
You know, there's a definite element of cynicism, you know, in romances on screen, I've noticed. You know, every so often I will watch a romance movie from like the 80s, and they're just so earnest. And then it was like there was a shift, you know, in the aughts, where you just have this intense cynicism that comes from romance movies that, like, when you're watching it, it makes you feel like you're stupid for like wanting to fall in love. And so there's that element of it that makes me uncomfortable watching it, which is why I fell in love with romance books, because that earnestness is always there in romance books. You cannot write romance with contempt in your heart.
No, you can't.
Yeah, because you need to be able to hit those emotional beats in romance, and those emotional beats cannot hit if if you're cynical about them. And then you have to rely on, you have to have the happily ever after because that's part of the genre. So you need to hit those emotional beats while also making sure that you have that satisfying ending. And so I definitely feel like one of the reasons that Heated Rivalry hit the way that it did was because it has essentially like it is a book on screen. It is a romance novel on screen, and it's one that is not shrouded in this layer of cynicism about the genre.
And I think there are so many people who, because romance is a genre that sells, and it doesn't just sell on books. Like when it is pulled off on screen, that shit hits, right? So like there are a lot of people, and some of these people are cisgender men, who want to cash in on romance while thinking that they're bringing something new to it that the genre doesn't want.
The thing that they always, and the thing that they want to bring into it, the new thing that they want to bring into it is always a tragic ending. And I'm just like,
oh gosh, nobody's thought of that before.
Wow, Nicholas Sparks, go for it. Like,
he wants to get paid like a romance author, let's be very clear, but he doesn't want to lower himself.
Oh, I'm gonna rant about this because there's a very famous cisgender man from North Carolina who does not believe he writes romances, but writes romances and denigrates the genre. He gets paid a shit ton of money and denigrates it every chance he gets. I am not going to say who it is, but I've given you all the clues from North Carolina. He wrote a very famous movie that I remember seeing in the movie theater thinking it was a romance and finding out it was not a fucking romance. It was it was me filled with rage the entire time.
I think I know what it is.
I'm gonna guess what it is after the show.
Yeah. You know exactly who it is. It's one of those aughts movies that felt very like performative romance. And it felt like in order to, like, there was something cynical about a big love story being important. It left me feeling really upset at the end because I was like, this is not what I thought I was getting. And it feels like it needed to be worthy as opposed to being a beautiful story that didn't have to end the way it did. You can have a happier ever after for right now, even if that right now isn't a happy time. It's, you know what I mean? Like, not every single romance will always end perfectly.
Happy for nows are acceptable. We accept those.
Yeah, Heated Rivalry ends on a happily for now, but it's one that's fairly satisfying. And that is what always gets me is how many people try to come into the genre being like, I'm going to subvert the ending. And it's like, no, the readership wants the ending. They want the ending. You don't have to, like, then just write it, but you don't have to advertise it as a romance. You want romance money without paying the romance tax.
Just call it what it is, which is a tearjerker. And that's fine. It's a tearjerker, and that's okay. Sometimes I want to cry. I literally want to just sob my eyes out because there's a catharsis in knowing that this is going to end sadly, and I'm going to get some of those feels I have about my own life out through what I'm seeing on screen. There's a place for it. That place is not romance. And also, if you're essentially writing romance stories but pretending that you're not a romance author, sit down and rotate, bitch. Sorry.
I knew everyone was going to have strong feels about that question.
I feel like we always go through the discourse like every 2 weeks on Threads. There's somebody that brings up the happily ever after, and I'm just like, no.
Like, we've already talked about this. We thought we settled it, but someone else, some other cisgender man is like, I think I've written a romance, but they all die in the end. Can I still publish with Harlequin?
One of my favorite books of all time is Song of Achilles. That is a beautiful love story, and it has romantic elements. It is not a romance. The romance is front and center, but in the end, there is no happily ever after, because there can't be. That's how the story ends.
It's a romantic tragedy.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's a tearjerker. It's okay.
It is, and that's the thing. They always they're always just like, but well, can I do this and maybe it won't be popular? I'm like, look, there are tons of tragic endings that are popular. They don't call themselves romances. Though Song of Achilles is in the general fiction section. Like,
exactly, and like it's not like, oh, I'm gonna make this couple end tragically. It's not like that's a super innovative ending either. Like, that happens all the time. 50% of marriages end in divorce, buddy.
Yeah, like it's not creative. You know what's creative? The thing is they don't understand that romance, the genre, the book genre is about the journey. It's about the journey and getting to the happily ever after, even when it seems impossible.
Exactly. And like, it's about what kind of journey you want to see. And there are so many things you can subvert in romance without subverting the happy ending. There's so many tropes. Pick a trope and subvert that. There's probably an audience for it. Like, go ahead and do it. But like, that's not how they're thinking because they haven't really done their research and they don't understand how the tropes work. Because you have to understand something before you can subvert it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it would be like writing mystery books and not having the mystery solved. Like, it's part of the
Or having it be the kind of mystery that there's no way you could have solved. There was no clues, like it's totally out of left field, and you feel as a reader that the promise of a mystery is, yeah, it can be really hard to solve and maybe I won't solve it, but the clues have to have been there. So if there are no clues there, then you feel cheated as a mystery. Just think about it that way. Listen, men, I know this is hard for you. Think about it that way. If you read a mystery novel and you couldn't have figured it out, you did not write a mystery. That's not a mystery novel. That didn't keep its promise. That's the same with the romance and the happily ever after.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's part of it, is that they don't understand they don't know how to write a book without like the shocking twist ending. Like they need the surprise ending. And it's fine. It's fine to have surprise endings. You can do that within the framework of a romance novel. Romance novelists do it all the time.
It's not like the only surprise is do they get together or not,
Yeah. When the ending is given, you have to work within that framework. It does really cause some great innovative plot lines to get there. Nobody says this about tragedy. Like, you already know how a tragedy is going to end. You know it's going to end badly. So how do you get there?
It's on the tin.
Yeah. Like, when the ending is on the tin, you already know how it's going to end. So the journey to get there, like, look, when I see Romeo and Juliet performed, I'm going to give my favorite example, which is the Leonardo DiCaprio one, okay? Because that one, in my opinion, Baz Luhrmann did an amazing job with it. I fucking love it. When I watch that, I still watch it thinking it's going to work out, and then it doesn't. And, like, it hurts. And it hurts.
And, like, making it hurt when this is a 400-year-old story that we all know the ending of, that takes artistry. Like, that is where the artistry is. The artistry isn't like, oh, I know, I'm gonna subvert things and make it real surprising that they live this time.
Yeah. And and that's what I like about when the ending is already set. How do they make the ending a surprise?
Well, yeah, I mean, I went to see Hadestown twice now, and each time I went with someone who didn't realize it was also a retelling of Orpheus and Eurydice. Each time, I knew how it was going to end. It's the same when I went to see Medea with my husband, I knew what was going to happen and he didn't know, and most of the theater didn't. So, like, I was taken out of it. Like, we've talked about it before on the podcast, this ancient Dionysian goat song where, like, everyone's hearts beat in rhythm when you're in this shared communal experience. So everyone is, like, in this. They're in it. And all of a sudden you get to the end of Hadestown, which I'm not going to spoil, but if you know, you know. And people were literally gasped and shocked. And then you get back to the start of the play and you realize it's a circular narrative. And I'm like, yeah, because it's an old song. It's a sad song. It's a tragedy. Those are the opening lines to Hadestown. And we're going to sing it again.
I'm getting chills right now from you describing that.
That is an ancient myth that still comes back every time. Every time we think it's going to be okay, it's not. And people go and see it because those themes are still there. They still hit us. And no one is complaining that those are not as good or that they're romances. I mean, Medea obviously not, but Hadestown is a good example. That they're not romances. We're just saying they're not in the genre. You can write those and people can love on them and they can really want to experience them like Romeo and Juliet. Just don't tell me you've invented a new thing in the genre, because you haven't.
That's not the heartbreaky feeling. Like, not saying you can't be heartbroken in a romance, because you absolutely can, but like...
That's where the third act breakup comes from. Come on!
Or there's all kinds of things you can do for that. But like, that heartbreak of finding out that they don't get together in the end, that is not the feeling that a romance reader is seeking out when they go to romance. It's just not.
No, life is hard. Let us have a happily ever after or happily ever after for right now. Like, I need to know that even if their problems seem insurmountable, we're going to end with them fucking wildly and in therapy. And, like, maybe it'll be okay. I don't need to know any further. And I don't want to know if they have children or not.
Nobody poops. You don't have to describe the menstruation.
I've noticed that as
That's a discourse that I find particular. I don't know if it annoys me or just find it funny and a little bit eye-rolly when periodically somebody on Twitter or somewhere is like, we never see anybody peeing and pooping in romance novels. Why don't we ever, do these women ever menstruate? He really never has any ED problems ever. And it's like,
wouldn't these people have smelled or whatever? And I'm just like, listen, I don't want, like, it doesn't need to be that level of real, man.
No.
I can't remember who it was, if it was Thea Guanzon or not, who was like, I just imagine everyone smells really good. Because the reality is, if I think about what they smell like, it's going to take me out of everything. And I don't need that. And I'm like, yes, exactly. And I just imagine everyone is like on an IUD or something. Like, I don't need to know your cycle.
They're all going down on each other right after riding a horse for 10 hours, and they all love it, and they all smell like flowers and...
They all smell like peaches. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm like, this is a fantasy novel. Just pretend their body's self-clean or something.
I think the other thing is, like, really, like, it's so unbelievable that this woman would have sex for the first time and it's good. And she never has to, like, tell him how to go down on her in a non-sexy way where it's like, no, just do it right this time, asshole. Like, and I'm just like, that is specifically what the fantasy is, okay?
Yes, exactly.
Like, if there's going to be directions, it's going to be very sexy directions.
So, on that note, can you tell us a little bit about maybe what you're working on next, what you've got coming out next?
I am working on book 2 right now. I just finished a draft in January, actually, and now I'm like editing it. I'm giving myself 5 weeks because my editor was like, by the way, where is book 2? And I'm like, fuck. And so yes, there is a draft of that done right. It's done. It's a mess, but it's my mess, and it is like on the paper. It just needs a lot of rewriting and a lot of work in the next 5 weeks. So I will be working on that. I did also finish a draft of like an edit of my my next Katrina Kendrick book in December. So, like, I went from working on my next Katrina Kendrick book in December, like, immediately into the draft of book 2 for the Broken Accords. So it's just been, like, this very busy, very tired, and then, of course, launch. So, yeah, so my next book will be book 2 of this series. And then after that, next year, I'm having 2 books out. So, yeah, next book for this one will be out in January, I think, maybe.
Early 2027, let's say.
Early 2027. Yeah, like that is what I am hearing. And then in autumn I will have my next Katrina book, which is going to be a paranormal romance.
Autumn 2027.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, next autumn. Because like I was going to be out earlier, but then I ended up selling the book before I finished writing it. So like I went out with like a 100-page partial, and it sold in like 9 countries.
Woohoo!
That's great, though.
And I was just a bit like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So exciting things to look forward to for our listeners. Our listeners, if you haven't read To Cage a God or the Falconer series, you need to go and do that. They are packed with lore and mythology and history. Even if they are in an alternate world, like I can give you a breakdown. It's good fun.
Wolf and the Crown of Blood, read it. You will thank me later.
Yes, it is going to be one of my top books of this year. I can tell you that right now. Between this and Cleopatra, you know, there are already 2 in January that are my top favorite books of this year. So you are lucky that you get to read it for the first time because, oh my God, it's had me in a very sexy chokehold for weeks now. And I'm so happy we can talk about it.
I'm just like, when is the second one? And I think I know who it's about.
I think so too. So Elizabeth, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me on Instagram at _ Elizabeth May. I'm also on Threads as _ Elizabeth May. I am on TikTok, but don't go there.
I know, I'm the same.
Yeah, I'm a bit like, I'm on TikTok, but I don't really post on there as much as I should because the algorithm hates me.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, TikTok is in a death spiral because America. No, it hates everyone now that an American company bought it. They just have decided that anyone who is left-leaning is going to be smashed down here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we still have the original. We still have the. It's fine. It's fine here in the UK. Like it doesn't belong to the US here, but they are particularly Puritan when it comes to content, and yeah, so they make it impossible for me to sell my books or advertise for my books on TikTok. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just leave it to the readers. They can just not participate.
Well, thank you so much. We've had just the best time talking to you, and hopefully we can have you back in the future. It's always a delight and a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you whenever we see you next.